in the times in which we live, one Indian pilot gets held captive in Pakistan, and the nation prays for him. 2 soldiers die this morning in Handwara in a suicide attack, and the nation feels that we must seek revenge. 3.18 lakh farm suicides have taken place in this country from 1995 to 2015. And they show no signs of abating in the last 3 years as well. No one talks of solutions. No one gets angry. Is it, as that cover of India Today seemed to suggest, that in a country where 80% of the people in some way or the other are dependent on agriculture, the elite have no place in their discourse for the farmer? This is no country in that sense for the Kisan. Is that true? As we just heard this story today of one woman who has bravely fought despite all the difficulties. I want solutions from the fine minds that I have with me. And I'm going to start with the country's premier agriculture economist, Professor Gulati. You've been writing on this for years, long before perhaps the rest of the media realized that maybe we need to focus on agriculture. Do you see a solution when farm incomes seem to be falling, even as ironically we have overproduction? Do you see a solution, sir?
Solution is possible provided we change our mindset from tonnage-centric policies to farmer-centric policies. The elites were very much involved in agriculture in 60s and early 70s when the nation was living from ship to mouth. And for 2 liters of milk, you had to stand in the queue for 3 hours. Then the best brains worked on it, and we overcame all those deficit years, and now we are a net exporter of agricultural produce. But our policies are still of 1950s and 60s. At the drop of a hat, if the onion price goes a little higher, put export bans. Private trade cannot be allowed to work in this. So what we have done, all our effort, including when this government came, was how to bring down the prices. So when you try to pull down the prices, there is an inherent, implicit consumer bias in the system. And in an effort to pull down those things, you have made the farmer poor. If you want to help the poor, we must come up with whether 70% of India needs food at 2 rupees a kg, or is it 20% of India that needs support? We are giving 1,84,220 crores of food subsidy at 90% rate to 67% of population. Can India afford that? Then there is no money left for investments, no money left for farmers, because if the farmer price goes up, the food subsidy bill explodes. Therefore, I think the policies of 50s and 60s, which were so-called protecting the poor, and in that effort making the farmer poor, they need a slight shift.
So in a sense, you are saying that the farmer, just as we had a trade and industrial liberalization in the early 90s, it's now time for a true farm revolution, liberalization, open up the farmer to new practices.
I'll give you one little example, and that will give you the sense of magnitude of the problem. We worked for 2 years, 17 years analysis, which is on the website, that farmers on an average did not get about 14% of their income. You know, they got 14% less income what they could have got otherwise because of restrictive trade and marketing policies of the government. That translates to each year at 17-18 prices, 2,65,000 crores of plundering, I would say, of agriculture, diverting it to the consumers. For 17 years, 45 lakh crores, the system has diverted and plundered farmers' income in the name of whether protecting poor, and you and me also get benefits of that. I think those policies, which are hidden instruments, there is no income tax, but the hidden instruments of trade and marketing policies implicitly tax our farmers, and we are in minority of the 52 countries that produce about 80% of the global output. There are only 3 countries which are taxing their farmers implicitly through their policies. India is one of them.
Rajiv Gowda, the Congress party's solution primarily seems to be, at least they seem to see the short-term solution as farm loan waivers. And many believe that that isn't really in any way a real solution to the structural crisis that faces farming. Your 2 solutions, raise MSP prices or go in for farm loan waivers. Neither of them seem to address the core issues that Professor Gulati raises today. For you, it seems a short-term political fix.
So there's a crisis in the countryside, and that needs an urgent response. So both the farm loan waiver as well as MSP-related solutions are fixes which are temporary. The real problem, as you have elucidated, is a structural change that's needed. And what is that structural change? We can't ignore the initial step of what we are proposing to do. We're also ensuring that the minimum income guarantee will ensure rural incomes will be stabilized for the farmer, the landowning farmer, the landless labor, and everyone else who is below a certain level. Now, the structural changes that are required have to do with access to credit, risk management, increasing the returns that a farmer can get, lowering input costs, ensuring more value addition and capture of value at the farm gate. All of these require deep, serious changes in the establishment which currently prevails. And that also includes engagement with the international trade policies. As he pointed out, our import-export policies and farming seem disconnected, or if they are connected, often it's to the detriment of farmers. As India urbanizes, there's tremendous demand for fruits and vegetables, for horticulture, animal husbandry products. There's a huge opportunity for wealth transfer because all of those products that we demand in urban India will come from agriculture and related activities. So now, how do we ensure that farmers capture as much as possible of that value and in a manner that helps them cope with the ups and downs, the vagaries of nature, everything else, climate change, things that are out there ahead of us?
Let me just get in 2 voices of people who work relentlessly on the ground on this issue. Viju Krishnan, the All India Kisan Sabha has been leading agitations, large protests of farmers. We've realized we are in a television age. And we saw that last year when suddenly the long march of farmers to Mumbai suddenly seemed to shake Mumbai into realizing that the Kisan is coming to the capital. You tell me, do you see a solution? Is the solution simply to wake up policymakers to the extent and gravity of the crisis by staging these long marches? Do they actually result in the governments changing their core policies towards farmers?
A solution is surely possible if there is a political will. And these protests have successfully brought the agrarian crisis onto the center stage. For many years, it has been only a question of farmers committing suicide. Today, you are finding them joining hands together, cutting across political lines, building issue-based unity, and making these huge mobilizations.
What's the core issue, Viju? What's the core issue that you are trying to get solved from the powers that be?
No, as far as the farmers are concerned, they require remunerative price for their produce. And the Prime Minister and BJP in 2014 had promised exactly that they would give at least 50% more than the cost of production. But that is not happening. And to give an example, for instance, for paddy, 1750 is the per quintal minimum support price. In most parts of India, farmers are not getting even 1,000 rupees per quintal because there is no procurement. And let us say a farmer in Bihar would be getting, if there is about 4 tons per hectare being produced, would be getting about 40,000 to 48,000 rupees only for his 4-ton produce. If it was 1750, that would have been more than 70,000. But every crop, the farmer, this is the magnitude of loss that the farmer is suffering. There are possibility of helping the farmers out. In Kerala, for instance, the government there gives an additional 800 rupees per quintal as to the paddy growers. So that would be more than 90,000 for this per hectare.
There will be those who will say these are handouts. Handouts cannot be, at the end of the day, a long-term solution to the structural problem.
No, handouts, you see, there is a difference between the handout that the Prime Minister has just now announced of 6,000 rupees for up to farmers holding up to 2 hectares in the 5th year of his government. And there is a difference where a government every year is willing to intervene in favor of the farmers. So there's a difference.
So
in the two
you
approaches.
believe there must be state intervention?
Surely.
There must be state intervention to lift the farmers.
It is the responsibility of the state to protect the farmers, the annadata of our country. It is because there is a state which is not responsive that this crisis has reached such a magnitude.
Kavita?
I think we should begin with an acknowledgement that the other sectors have no solution for millions of people if you don't do something serious and fundamental within the agriculture sector. I think that's got to be the first premise. Once you acknowledge that, the political will that Viju talked about has to fall in place. Today we have a situation where farmers, as per official data, are earning incomes which are less than the legally mandated minimum wages for agricultural workers. One is that the income is low. 2 is that the income is unstable. You're not sure whether you're going to get it season after season. So given that people are here to stay and they're performing a very vital function for the entire nation, which is as important as what the Jawans are doing at the border. That of protecting the sovereignty of the country. If we accept that something needs to be done, according to some of us, the first thing that needs to be tackled is reorienting all the policies that the government has, all the schemes, all the programs, towards delivering minimum living incomes to all farmers. And price is definitely a route towards delivering those incomes. When we talk about minimum income guarantees, please don't immediately equate it with cash transfers. And then there'll be these questions about, isn't there a moral hazard? Won't the farmer become lazy and sit at home? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about policies that actually are oriented towards delivering incomes. That's the least that the government should be doing, spending lakhs of crores of rupees. 2, even in the limited question about loan waivers, let's not forget that there are models already in front of us, as Kerala has shown, for instance, that you need some statutory institutional mechanisms that take care of farmers' indebtedness. Indebtedness is not going to go away. It's going to be a persistent problem in Indian farming. We need solutions of the kind that you have for other sectors, like your bankruptcy code, your insolvency codes. Why are we not thinking about something of that kind, a limited liability concept to agricultural credit in an enterprise which is one of the most risky enterprises out there? Not a single variable is in the hands of the farmers, not the inputs, not what happens throughout the production season, and then after taking all these risks, when you produce something, you're really not sure what price you will get at the market end. Nothing is in the hands of the farmers. Therefore, I think don't brush aside loan waivers as a foolish concept. Unless farmers begin on a clean slate, whatever you're going to give now is also going to go into a black hole.